Daniel Davis from the Chamber of Commerce. He's taken time. I think he's on the road, so he's calling in for this, and thank you for being with us, Daniel.
Thank you, Mary Pat. Daniel, are you there?
I am. And I pulled over and found a safe spot to call in. And so I actually am videoing in, so hopefully you all can see me.
We see you.
It's great to see a lot of, you do? This whole Zoom thing has been the bane of my existence for the last 6 weeks. So I hope you guys are going to be glad whenever we can be done with this and see each other face to face again. I know I am. But it's great to flip through the videos and see a lot of dear friends that I haven't seen in a while. And so I hope everybody's doing well and families are healthy. My 4 children and Rebecca are all healthy. The boys are driving Rebecca a little bit crazy with the schoolwork, and it's hard to keep 15-year-old and a 13-year-old keep their hands off of each other while they're supposed to be in school. But it's something that we're all working through, and obviously the girls are angels, so we don't really need to worry about them. But I wanted to touch base with you and let you know a little bit about what the Chamber has been working on since the crisis began, and then what we're working on today. And then I would love to take questions, because I think that's probably the best part of the discussion, is to talk about what you want to discuss. So we first looked at what we were going to do, because the Chamber is really an event organization. We bring people together, and whenever you aren't allowed to do that anymore, we have to figure out what we're going to do with our 50 employees that usually work very closely with our members, providing value and creating jobs. And so we originally first went in and started cleaning up all of the Chamber things that go on the back burner whenever there's things on the front burner. And we spent about a week and a half doing that. And then the stimulus discussion started taking place, and many of our members wanted to know more about the Paycheck Protection Program. That was clearly the most in-demand portion of the stimulus dollars that were voted on in DC. And through that process, we held several webinars. Maybe some of you were able to watch some of the webinars. Hundreds of people were on those webinars. I think our highest number was close to 600 at one time. And we would only make them last for an hour, but we would get hundreds of questions regarding, where we are, how folks can access what financial institutions are doing. And we were able to help a lot of small businesses through that process to find the right financial institutions that were still participating in the program. We did that for probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then we started looking at what does this look like, the next steps of the business community. And the mayor asked a group of people in the community to advise him on what reentry would look like. And so the last couple weeks, I've been spending time with that and working on what phase 1 would look like in companies that are allowed to resume their business, and how we would suggest that they do that. There are several leading medical industry leaders on this group that have expertise, world-class expertise, that are bringing great advice. And, discussing what phase 2 would look like, discussing how we could help businesses that could contract with the city and independent authorities, how we can do that faster to get more money out there to folks. And so we're going to steadily, over the next couple weeks, give Mayor Curry advice on how we would suggest the city moves forward. And obviously he's going to make the decisions on that, and he'll take some of our advice, probably won't take some of our advice, and move forward. And I got to tell you, I really feel like the mayor's done a fine job in this crisis. He's been steady, and I think he's made wise decisions. It's very important that we are safe, and that's the number one issue as we move forward. But it's also very clear that we can't stay sheltered in our homes forever, and we're going to have to resume working soon. And I, for one, am excited about that, and excited about doing it in a safe manner. And many of the companies in our organization that have been hurting are looking forward to getting started back up so they can put food on the table for their employees. And so, you know, one other thing I would tell you, we have an economic development arm of our organization called Jax USA Partnership. And our Jax USA team has been very busy, even during this crisis, been very busy with prospects who are interested in growing jobs in Jacksonville, moving companies to this community. And so that's a nice surprise for us that you would still continue seeing that Jacksonville is very, very attractive. And so on many fronts, we're still working. It looks a little bit different because we're at home, and we can't really touch and see the people that we deal with every day. But it's been very, very good. And so I want to be encouraging to everybody on the call. You all are community leaders, and I know the health of Jacksonville and West Jacksonville is very, very important to you. And I want you to know that you should be encouraged, because I think we have a very strong recovery, and I think we have a very great story to tell. And so hopefully we can get that out there as soon as possible and continue moving forward. With that, I would love to open up for questions, and I'm happy to stay on as long as you want and talk to you about what I see happening out there.
Dan?
Yes.
This is Ed Pratt Daniels. How are you today? Good to see your face.
Hey, good to see you.
I was curious. It seems like that July 1st is an important date, at least at this point, with the PPP ending up about then and the additional workman's comp that the feds are adding to the state's dollars. Any sense on what businesses that have been able to get some of those funds are going to do as of July 1st, or are we hoping we'll be back up 100%, or that the feds will kick in more money?
That's a great question, and it's good to see you as well, Ed. And I would tell you this: I think May for many businesses will be a very important month, and as we see the governor and the mayor start ramping up in more involvement in the community, I think that in my opinion, I think you're going to see a lot more activity take place in a safe manner. I think June is going to be critical for us to get the economy running, and July, in my opinion, I think June's probably more important to me than I would see in July. I would assume we'd be back as much as possible by the end of July, but May and June are probably the critical months for me, the way we're talking through activity and reactivating.
Great. Hey, Daniel, this is Dan Maloney.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, greetings. I appreciate it very much that I'm glad you're not still driving, by the way. I think that's, I appreciate the fact that you pulled over. Are you hearing any discussion about, and let's hope, God forbid, that there's no second wave, but what are we talking at all? Are you hearing any consideration coming out about a potential second wave?
Of course, I don't think anybody would profess to foretell the future, and I would tell you that the predictions on what would happen in Northeast Florida and Jacksonville just didn't come to fruition, and I think it's because a lot of people made good decisions at the beginning And I would tell you, I think everybody is concerned about the possibility of a second wave, but we also understand that, like I mentioned earlier, I think we as a community have to figure out how to protect ourselves when we reopen retail and restaurants and places of worship. The 6-foot distance is very, very important. It doesn't do any good to give someone 25% capacity of their facility and people immediately go in and sit together underneath the awning or sit at the same table. We need to make sure that the 6 feet separation is followed. All of the experts that I've talked to, that's really the most important part. And I believe if we can do that, and I believe if we wear our face masks when we're interacting, especially at first, we can really cut down those chances. And you know, that you guys mentioned that you're producing face masks for the Rotary group. The Chamber has worked with Masks for Jax to manufacture about 300,000 masks for the elderly and high-risk folks in our community. And we've actually had the opportunity to distribute well over 100,000 to people. And so tomorrow I'm loading up my truck with masks and I'm delivering to several different organizations. So it's very, very important that we continue to do that. And I think probably you've noticed, whether you've gone to Publix over on Roosevelt or Home Depot or one of the other retail outlets that we have near where we live, most people are starting to wear the masks. I mean, at first I felt like I was a little embarrassed, like I was a minority. Now I go in and there's easily 70% of the people at Publix wearing masks. So I think the message is getting out there, and I think it's critically important to be able to stop that quote unquote second wave.
Thank you.
Dan?
Yes.
Ed again. I was curious, it sounded like there was some concerns / complaints nationally about that first wave of the PPP. Perhaps the smaller businesses, because they didn't have a banking relationship or weren't as quick on the trigger as some of the larger organizations, got left out, and the intent of the second wave was to have them more included. Is there any sense of, is that true here in Jacksonville, or what's your sense as far as participation, in particularly those small businesses?
That's a very good question, and that was the case. Many people rushed to get in line and make sure they qualified, and several of the there were small and medium businesses and large businesses that didn't make it in the line because there was so much demand. The money was gobbled up so quickly, and then it was very clear that they did not put enough money into this program, and it was by far the most popular part of the stimulus. And so the second round, we helped connect smaller businesses with community banks and credit unions, and that really helped out a lot. And for the most part, the people that were having the most trouble, I haven't heard anything recently about people not being able to receive the paycheck protection money. So the last webinar we had dropped down to about 150 people. And in my opinion, that was a good litmus test to see if people were still riled up about not getting the money. And we haven't received a whole lot of complaints or concerns from our members. So it makes me think that most everybody was taken care of.
You're unmuted and your camera's. You want your camera on?
Yeah.
Mr. Corrigan, do you have a question?
No, I'm just glad to see Dan. It's been a long time. Long time.
You're the first one I recognized when I looked on the video screen. It's good to see you, Mr. Corrigan.
Good to see you. Take care.
I try to keep your son in line every once in a
Oh,
while.
God. I'm glad you got the job. I can't take care of it.
Do we have other questions for Daniel Davis?
Mike Crumpler would like for you to address some of the major challenges that Jacksonville businesses face in this current virus environment, and what measures should our local businesses employ to fight for their economic well-being in the near and distant future?
That's a great question. I would tell you the hardest hit has been obviously the hospitality and restaurant service industry. Now, we started a program called Takeout Tuesdays, and it was designed to get people excited about supporting the local restaurants that they love and supporting the service folks that work in those restaurants. And it was pretty successful, and still is. And I would tell you, you think about the hotels in Northeast Florida and much of the tourism that we are able to, land out of state and out of country dollars. It's been hit hard, and I want to make sure that we do everything we can to help get those back up and running. Talking to John Payton, who obviously has several different resorts that the gate companies run. Most of their businesses run on conferences where people want to come from all over the country to do their business conferences, say out at Ponte Vedra, or you got the same thing up in Amelia and St. Johns County. Well, I mean, as you can imagine, most of those conferences are canceled, and it's going to take a while for us to get those conferences and those businesses comfortable with venturing back out. And so we need to make sure we do that. I think we have a real opportunity to give the working folks in our community a shot in the arm if the city and the independent authorities can get some work out there that could be very helpful. So I think that we all need to be focused on all the fronts, but man, the restaurant industry and hospitality industry is probably the biggest concern of mine.
And the bed tax.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical when you think about what our Tourist Development Council does with the bed tax and how we're able to try to draw more people here. I think we're a better story out there because we're not as densely packed in as, say, New York City or other highly dense communities that I guarantee you many of those folks are thinking, where could I go to be able to thrive and be successful in business and not be as at risk. And so we fully expect to reap the benefits of some of that as well in our community.
Hey, Dan, I would like to ask a question of our guest if I can.
Yeah, go for it, Captain Phillips.
Okay. Hey, my name is Phil Voss, and I've got interest also in the Panhandle, and the governor, when he was cutting what was going to be able to happen and what wasn't going to be able to happen, they started talking about the vacation rentals, and the vacation rentals are not in the same barrel as all of the hotels, and it's costing the owners a lot of money. Do you have any logic on why the governor actually did that?
Captain, I'd have to circle back with you. I don't have the logic from the governor and why he's differentiating between the two, but I'll be happy to get that information.
It would be good. It's all of the condominiums on the entire coast, and I'm wondering, is that occurring here in Northeast Florida as well as Western Florida?
I believe the same policy is in place for Northeast and Western Florida.
Okay, thanks. I needed to know that. I appreciate it, and I like what you had to say.
Yes, sir.
Mike Prendergast would like to know, while social distancing may work for the Jaguars, is the city talking about what it will do for Florida, Georgia?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I do know we have talked through any of the, for example, houses of faith, there's a very large percentage of people that would like to know what is going on there and what is safe. And, I think that right now retail and restaurants are going to be at 25%. We'll see where the discussion goes with churches and synagogues. And I think that a lot of that applies to whenever you get a lot of people together in one location. And then my hope would be, by the end of June, we have a much clearer picture about what moving forward looks like. And I assume we will be a couple phases of this reentry down the road. And I think the answer would be much clearer than right now. I think everybody's just guessing about what that looks like. These are great questions, though.
Anyone else have some questions for Daniel Davis? Hey,
Well,
Dan-
listen, I'm going to start driving back to Jacksonville. I'm about halfway from Tallahassee to Jacksonville, and I look forward to seeing all of you soon. I love the Rotary. I love what you do and how much you care about each other, and it's evident by the fact that even the folks in your club that are not feeling well and some loved ones that are sick, you guys are gathering around and praying for them and loving on them. And that's what makes our country great. And I just want to let you know I appreciate you and what you do. And hopefully I'll see you soon. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Your office has been great trying to coordinate your time. We know how busy you are, and we really appreciate the fact that you're working so hard for the benefit of our community. We're there for you, and we're pulling all in the same direction. So good luck, and drive safely, and good luck with the mask delivery. That's pretty impressive. So,
Thank you.
take care.
Have a great day.
Dan.